Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Yapa Photo, and this week I welcome Kim Roman in Evanston. Kim is a transformational coach, and I will be intrigued to hear more about what that means. She has a transition from a corporate job into her own practice. Kim, good afternoon. I'm so glad that you are here for my series. You are working with a working mother who are looking to transform like a butterfly. Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here. So I love working with working moms who have been feeling what I felt for a long time. So I was an attorney for a long time. I was actually a web developer for a while before that. I transitioned into the nonprofit sector, and in each role that I had, I recognized that I was feeling overwhelmed. I recognized that I wasn't living this work-life balance that I was supposed to be living. And so I found myself really stressed out, really wanting a change, really wanting to transform my life. And so each time I looked at what would bring me joy. How can I lean into what feels authentic to myself? And I would recreate myself, just like, you go into that chrysalis and you come out a butterfly, you come out recreating yourself. So that's what I do as a transformational coach, specifically working with working moms. I like to say that I help taking women from being overwhelmed to lit up, right? Because
Oh, nice. I like the nice image. And I like the fact that you have transformed yourself, Kim. Coming from structure, very established work structure, and practicing on your own. What was your idea behind your coaching practice? How did you come up with this idea? So yourself, and why working mother specifically?
So yeah, I mean, one of my mentors repeatedly reminded us that we coach where we've been. So I have always enjoyed helping people and leaning in and helping people find their way, even when I wasn't a coach professionally. And it has been a joy of mine to help people. So when I started realizing that I had made changes that people said that they were scared to make, it was, even today, I talk to friends of mine and they're saying, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine doing what you're doing. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm taking care of myself. And so that is really where this idea came from. And so I call myself Harmonious Life. So it's Harmonious Life Coaching. Because I'm really helping people find that harmony for themselves, to move out of balance and into harmony. But it was me, and it was talking to friends that were, we work full time, we take care of our kids, we're raising our kids, we're doing the best that we can. And everything that I was reading and hearing kept telling me that I wasn't enough, telling me that I wasn't, making all the right choices for my kid, or making all of the right choices for myself. And why couldn't I make it to yoga and make the sourdough starter and do that, and do this full-time job and it's exhausting. And when I see it in myself and I see it in people that I love, and I feel like I can help a little bit, that's where that was born from. I mean, have you ever felt that way, where it's just like,
Of course, and it's interesting that you talk about balance versus harmony, because now that I think more and I've been exposed to your practice, I think it's great, because I've been reflecting on that concept of what it means to be balanced versus what it means to be more in harmony. And it's that consistent juggle of trying to catch all those balls. And I think we women want to have it all. We want to work, we want to take care of our children, we want me time, we want time social, personal. So we are struggling. And in addition, with the COVID, it has also brought into that circle a new complexity that is human connection. So tell us, Kim, through that challenging time, what have you learned, life lesson, as far as working mom trying to seek harmony during COVID?
Well, it was really interesting. So when we started, I was like, yes, now I can prove that this works, that integrated living works. And whew, it was hard at first. It was really hard. I was thrilled to be able to feel like I had the right tools, right? Because I had already developed tools for integrated living, but I wasn't prepared for what it was like to have to stop every half an hour to shift into, okay, mom hat, and I felt like I was already doing that at work, right? Because I have my whole list of what I have to do at work, and then I have my whole list of stuff that I'm doing for our daughter, and having to buy groceries and having, all the stuff, all the plates, and I still felt like I wasn't prepared for how quickly things would shift when we went into the confinement. It was amazing how exhausted I was and how long my days were. Like, by Tuesday, I thought it was Friday, and I still have times like that, right?
In addition to being a parent, you have to in some way become a substitute teacher.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. And, I have a background in education, and both my parents are educators. So I felt like I felt okay in that realm. I felt at least more prepared than I think most of my friends did, but it's still, I wasn't prepared. I guess I wasn't prepared for the level of emotional care. And I do a lot of emotional care with our daughter. I do a lot of emotional care, and she's very in tune with her emotions and can speak very eloquently about them. But I wasn't prepared for how much of that I would have to do. I was used to doing it twice a day, right? In the morning and in the evening. And now it was throughout the day. Somebody would say something in a class or through social media, not social media, but they were using Hangouts together. And it would upset her. And so then helping her navigate that in real time became really, of course I want to be there for her. And yet I also wanted to do my work. And then mentioned me time. Probably for the first 2 months, true me time did not exist. It took me a while to get back to saying no. And some of it was the guilt, right? And I talk a lot about guilt in my work, is how we really have to release the guilt to have the opportunity to be present and to grow and to feel okay. But the other part of it was I just didn't understand how to figure out the logistics. And thankfully, I wasn't too hard on myself. So I didn't beat myself up. I was like, okay, it's hard on everybody. And as an empath, I was feeling the weight of the world on me too. So I just I sat in it. I intentionally slowed myself down with everything that I was doing. If normally it would take me a day to turn a project around, it was taking me a week. And I just had to become okay with that. And ask everybody else that was involved in my life to be okay with it too, which I think is really hard for us, because I feel like very often as moms, and then as working moms, we feel like we're here to serve others, right? And although we know the put on your mask and then put on their mask thing, we totally don't, right? But if we don't, that's when we start to fall apart. And I did. By the end of April, early May, I totally fell apart. I just really couldn't even function very well. And I shut everything down, and I talked with my husband, and I age appropriately explained to my daughter I needed to pull back a little bit. And so I found that time to just be me and to just fill my soul. So I love art. I love meditation. I do energy healing. And I went back to my roots and found that for myself, and unapologetically so, right? And I think that's a huge key. So I know you play tennis, and right? And that's something for you, I think.
Yeah, I think that we all need to find our little joy, simple pleasures. Now it's a little bit easier because we can go out, see friends again. There are some social activities, but yeah, for 3-4 months, I was confined. I worked from home. I had to reinvent my profession. I didn't become a teacher to be behind the screen. So that was the hardest for me to not have physical interaction with students. And in addition to that, I had to make sure that my son was also um, benefiting from distance learning. So
Yeah.
that was difficult because both of us were struggling. But I like the fact that you talk about guilt because I think sometimes we don't talk about, the guilt, and I think the work-life balance and that sometimes unrealistic expectation triggers some guilt. So that's why I think the harmony is more an authentic concept, something that is more approachable and maybe more customized and more personalized to
Yeah.
each individual.
Yeah, it's so the way that I like to work with my clients around it is I start by explaining, I make the assumption everybody's at least tried yoga once, and I could be wrong, but I feel like when we try and go into something like tree pose or even go on to a balance beam, right? We're trying to physically balance our bodies. We can feel it in our bodies that we tense, and we have to, and that's the point of it, right? It's good balance because our bodies need that. We need it for flexibility. We need it for mobility. We need it for muscle strength. We need that kind of balance. But when we're talking about balancing our lives, it's BS. We can't do it. And it creates more stress, right? I noticed for myself and I noticed for people around me and for my clients that it is so painful when we're trying all the time to say, okay, work, I have to give the, 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm going to focus on what needs to be done, get it all done, get it on time, get it, ahead of time if I can, meet everybody's needs. You're already exhausted. You've already done, at this time, we're not doing commutes, but we were doing commutes. We were doing drop-offs. We were trying to be there for everything that our kid needed us to be there for. Be there after school, be there to help with homework, be there to make dinner, be there for bedtime. You're up for me, I was up at 5:30 in the morning. I was going to bed at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. And I carved, the morning time was my time because I would work out and I'd meditate. But if I'm doing that at 5:30 in the morning, by 10:30 at night,
Yeah,
everything I did in
exhausted.
the morning is gone,
Yeah.
right? It's that exhausting thing. And so you can't balance in that. And weekends don't give you your time back. And vacation doesn't give you your time back. So it's really living this integrated life. It's fine. So harmony is really about creating integration and understanding there is an ebb and flow. We are we feel very guilty. We feel very burdened. We feel very, I should be doing something else. At first, it's very hard to lean into. We are programmed to believe that our time is money, right? And I was a practicing attorney, so I billed. It was really worth, like, my time and money were the same. And learning that that's not sustainable if we also want to be the parents that we want to be in life. It's just, we can't do it. We can't do it all. So having the ability to look at it a different way. And so I start with my clients with something that I created called a wheel of harmony. And it's similar to people have used a wheel of life where you have the different pies. It's basically figuring out where are your priorities. And it's looking at what is most important to you. Where are those showing up in your life? How often are those showing up in your life? How fulfilled do you feel in those areas? And very often we'll see that there's one or two that are kind of overflowing, and then the rest of them are really, they're not even showing up in our lives. And so it's then where do we want to start creating micro shifts in our lives to create a little bit more harmony, to create a little bit more space. It's not about making it equal. It will never be equal. But it's how
I'm learning so much, and I'm taking notes while you speak, Kim, because absolutely, you're right. It's not about equal because different segments of our life come with different priorities. So by default, I think it's setting us for failure. If we say I must work out, but I also must cook. So I think it's so important to add in there to be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah.
Talk about self-care. And I understand you work with working moms on the individual basis group, and I've been participating to your group
Mhm.
discussion, and I think they're unlikely that I get to some other moms, their joys and their challenges. So I understand that in September, you're going to offer a new program. Tell us more about
So I'm going to be offering, it's called a training program, but the way the training works is it is kind of self-paced. There will be opportunities twice a month for group coaching. So very much like the calls that we've been doing right now, where I have the group, the community come on and we talk about the different topics that we're covering that month. So for instance, this past month in the groups that I run, I'm working on guilt and boundaries. Those will be two things that will also come up in this program. It's a 12-week program. So we'll have 3 months and we'll go through 10 different topics. We'll have opportunities to do visualization, group visualizations. We'll have group coaching, and then there will just be some, worksheets and things. Really talking about spending 5 to 10 minutes a day, because I know none of us has time. None of us is going to sit down and my journal. If I can't do it in 5 minutes or less, it doesn't happen. But if I don't do it, I feel it. Like I need that outlet, but I can't spend a half an hour writing in my journal. It just doesn't work for me. So, so I'm making it really accessible. And it will start at the end of September and it will run for the quarter, and then we'll start another one the following quarter. So the idea is to just continue to have once a quarter individuals roll into this program, kind of take it at their own pace, be a part of the group training program, and then do some a group coaching program, and then do some visualization work as well. To really, visualization is very similar to creating vision boards. Right? So we sit down and we think about where we want to be. So we're going to each take each topic and do a little visualization around it and create a mini vision board so that we can stay focused on how we want to be living, as a visual reminder, which creates a visceral reaction to make us more likely to follow through on the actions that we say we're committing to.
And we need to be liable as a coach. I mean, just like a gym coach or any type of coach, you're there, of course, to set structure, but also liability, because otherwise, like you say, we'll procrastinate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like anything in life. So it's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim. I've been taking notes and making mental notes and reminding myself to be gentle on myself, and having self-care and not being able to have it all. And I think if we come to peace with that and remind ourselves what are our priorities. So as I go back to work, for me, I've been very stressed about what next year is going to look like. As of today, I can't even tell you, because PS has announced a new plan of remote, and I don't know how it's going to affect my independence.
Right.
So I've been struggling with that anxiety, and I need to remind myself that there are a lot of things that are out of my control, and I trust people in charge to make those good decisions. So I kind of need to release, like you said. There are things that are out of our control. We need to release.
Yeah, so much is out of our control. We really, and that's a lot of, there are two kind of key elements to everything that I'm teaching. One is we really do have to let go, because we try to control so much in our lives, and that creates stress and tension. And that's where, we're not good enough, right? We're trying to control something. And that we really need, you talk about the self-care and the peace. We really need to have that peace of mind that we do have responsibility for ourselves, and we can make the changes that we want to make in our lives, even if they're scary. We're totally capable of. I mean, look at everything we've already done as working moms, right? We have to start by giving ourselves a lot of credit, because what we do is hard. It's hard.
But I think sometimes it's just expected that we do this, and we don't always get the credit for it.
No, we have to do that for ourselves. We have to do that for ourselves. We have to give ourselves that gift. One of the things I love doing is working with somebody to help them start to recognize all of the wonderful things they do every day. Because very often we have this to-do list and we check off like 3 things and we go, oh my God, I wasted my whole day. But if they actually started writing down what they accomplished, they start feeling better. because they recognize, oh, I was distracted and I took care of 92 other things that I didn't plan for the day, but those were important things that got done. And so then the mindset starts shifting, right? And we start feeling better about ourselves, and then we feel a little bit more peaceful. And if we want to make some shifts, if we want to say, okay, I don't want to be distracted by these things, we have ways to start working with that, because now we've identified it. And that's that taking responsibility part that I was talking about in terms of finding our own peace.
And that's why transformational is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's baby step, micro shift. And I'm sure that you get a lot of reward and satisfaction when you see your clients making those micro shifts, those positive decisions. How does it translate? How do you see them evolve?
Oh, it's
like a butterfly.
Yeah, it's amazing to see my client. I mean, those moments where you've been working with somebody, you know, for several sessions, and all of a sudden that light bulb comes on, and you know, you saw it from the beginning. You saw what was coming, but it took a while for them to get there, and they go, "Oh, you mean if I simply do this, things will change?" Yeah. And you know, some of the things that I've seen, I've seen a client that I'm still working with. She has always had this voice. It's an inner critic voice, right? And we all have them. We all have these different parts of ourselves that talk. This inner critic voice that is so negative and just is berating, and it's been painful to hear how mean it can be to her. And we were just talking not too long ago, and to hear her now from where she started, she's having regular dialogues with her inner critic, and it's really tempered it. So whereas she actually can see her worth in the world where she couldn't see it before, because this critic kept pulling her back and pulling her down. And so to see that transformation, to see that growth, to see how she's now able to show up in the world and do all of her magical, wonderful things, it gives me goosebumps. It makes me just.
Of course, it's very heartwarming when you know that you have transformed someone and you are to some extent contributing to someone's well-being and happiness and adding that little piece. Let's conclude this conversation, Kim, and talk about silver lining and positive words of wisdom. There's always a silver lining, and for me, my silver lining during the confinement and all those different months was, well, leveraging technology, obviously using a lot of Zoom, but also for personal use. I've created a workout group and with some friends from all over the world. We've been working out. So I've come back to loving, you know, physical activity, working out, tennis, biking, working with a coach. So for me, that was my silver lining. The other piece was this YouTube channel. I wanted to create a space for interviewing and giving a spotlight for people who inspire me, female-based, and people who are working hard, sometimes in the shadow, and have something intriguing that they want to share. So for me, the confinement in some way was the triggering start point of having the courage to come out and say, hey, that's my little project and I want to do that. And I know for you, the silver lining was I follow you online, and as I know that your daughter is also having a little bake sale online. So in some way that would have never happened, I guess, if we were not confined. So in some way, it's a little bit of a silver lining.
Yeah, it totally is. And she's doing very well. She actually was like, Mama, I'm a little scared with how well this is going.
Wow, a lot of demands, a lot of, you're going to be able now to, you're going to drive around Evanston everywhere to deliver this goods.
I'm going to have to start bringing in that delivery boundary. We had some family members that were up north, and we have some friends in the city, so it was a pretty wide delivery boundary. We're going to have to trim that in.
Well, that's a great it's a great initiative, you know, that came out from something that was so uncertain and challenging. Is the mindset. How do we turn something that in the beginning can be super, deceptive, and turn it into something that, you know, let's make the positive out of it.
Yeah. Well, my mom, it used to annoy me when I was younger, but I'm so grateful she gave me this lesson. She was always telling me to make lemonade, always telling me to make lemonade. And I got to tell you, I have been the queen of lemonade. I am generally in my life, but for sure since March, since
Yes.
the confinement started, I've turned everything I can into lemonade. It's really leaning into it.
We need to be resourceful and creative. So thank you, Kim. I will post everything, your social media and everything in the comments so people can reach out if they want to talk to you about coaching, if they want to order some baked goods. You have
Absolutely.
different streams, different business. And I hope that we can meet at some point in Evanston.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. We'll see you soon for another episode of Yapa Photo. See you soon. Thank you, Kim.
Bye-bye.